I've put the complete script in a reusable writing block so you can copy it directly into your workflow. If you've ever said sorry for asking a question, taking up space, or even for something that wasn't your fault, this video might completely change how you see yourself. Maybe you've apologized for bumping into a chair. Maybe you've apologized when someone else interrupted you. Maybe you've typed "sorry to bother you" before sending a simple text message. And the strange part is, you probably don't even notice you're doing it anymore. What if I told you that excessive apologizing often has very little to do with being polite and a lot more to do with what your brain learned about safety? Today, we're breaking down the psychology of people who apologize too much, why it happens, what it secretly reveals about your mind, and how to stop carrying responsibility for things that were never yours to begin with. If you want more psychology breakdowns explained in plain language with no fluff and no boring lectures, hit that like button and subscribe to Psychology Decode right now. My goal is to help 1 million people understand their own minds better, and you can actually help me get there. Here's what many people don't realize. Constant apologizing feels harmless. It even feels kind. But over time, it can quietly reshape the way you see yourself. Every unnecessary apology sends your brain a message. The message is simple. I am the problem. And when your brain hears that message hundreds of times a week, it starts treating it like a fact. Think about your average day. Someone takes too long to answer a text and you apologize for following up. Your food order is wrong and you apologize for asking them to fix it. A friend cancels plans and somehow you're the one saying sorry. Have you ever caught yourself doing that? The problem isn't just the word, it's the belief hiding underneath it. Many chronic apologizers are constantly scanning their environment for signs that they've upset someone, disappointed someone, or made a mistake. It's like having a smoke alarm that's so sensitive it goes off every time someone makes toast. A 2023 study from the University of Waterloo found that apologizing can increase perceptions of trust and empathy in certain situations. But here's the catch, that's when an apology is actually needed. When apologizing becomes automatic, it stops being a tool and starts becoming a habit. And habits shape identity. I want to tell you about someone we'll call Sarah. She's 28 years old, works in marketing in Chicago, and by most people's standards she's successful. But she had one exhausting habit. She apologized constantly. She apologized when speaking up in meetings. She apologized when asking her boyfriend for support. She even apologized when someone bumped into her on the subway. One day a coworker pointed something out. Every time Sarah apologized, she seemed to shrink a little. She made herself smaller, less visible, less demanding. That comment hit her hard, because she realized she wasn't apologizing for mistakes. She was apologizing for existing, and that realization changed everything. But the next part is where it gets really interesting. Stop here for a second. If you take nothing else from this video, remember this one thing. People who apologize too much are often not trying to be nice. They're trying to stay safe. That sounds surprising, but psychology has been pointing toward this idea for years. Many excessive apologizers developed a mental habit called people-pleasing, which is just a fancy way of saying they learned that keeping other people happy felt safer than expressing their own needs. Imagine carrying a backpack everywhere you go. At first it's empty. Then someone puts a small rock inside. Every criticism becomes another rock. Every moment of rejection becomes another rock. Every experience where you felt responsible for someone else's emotions becomes another rock. Years later you're carrying a backpack so heavy that apologizing feels easier than setting it down. Your brain loves efficiency. It turns repeated behaviors into shortcuts. It's like creating an app icon on your phone's home screen. The more often you use it, the easier it becomes to tap. For chronic apologizers, saying sorry becomes that shortcut. There's also something called anxiety sensitivity, which is just a fancy way of saying your brain reacts strongly to uncertainty. If you don't know whether someone is upset with you, your brain wants relief immediately. An apology can provide temporary relief. The problem is that temporary relief trains the habit to come back stronger next time. Think about scrolling TikTok before bed. You see one video, then another, then another. Before you know it, an hour has passed. Excessive apologizing works in a similar way. One small apology doesn't seem important, but hundreds of them slowly shape how you think about yourself. Here's what most people get completely wrong. They assume confidence means never apologizing. That's not true. The myth is that people who apologize a lot are simply more caring and considerate. The reality is that many excessive apologizers are carrying an unhealthy amount of responsibility for other people's feelings. The myth is that saying sorry keeps relationships healthy. The reality is that unnecessary apologies can sometimes create confusion. If you're constantly apologizing, people may start assuming you've actually done something wrong when you haven't. Researchers studying interpersonal communication have repeatedly found that healthy relationships depend more on clear communication than constant self-blame. In other words, honesty builds trust better than unnecessary guilt. Now let's talk about the warning signs. The first sign is apologizing before an opinion. Maybe you're in a group chat and type, "Sorry, but I think," before sharing your thought. Deep down, your brain is treating your opinion like an inconvenience instead of something valuable. Here's another one. You apologize when asking for basic needs. Maybe you need help. Maybe you need clarification. Maybe you need emotional support. Yet the request comes wrapped in apologies. Psychologically, this often signals a fear of rejection. Your brain is trying to soften the request before anyone has even reacted. This third sign is something most people completely miss. You replay conversations for hours afterward. You're sitting in traffic, watching Netflix, or trying to fall asleep, and suddenly you're wondering if something you said sounded rude. Then comes the urge to send a follow-up apology. Have you ever felt that? The fourth sign is apologizing for other people's behavior. Someone in your family acts rude at Thanksgiving and somehow you're saying sorry on their behalf. This often happens when people have spent years feeling responsible for keeping peace around them. Here's another red flag. You feel anxious when you don't apologize. Even when logic tells you there's nothing to apologize for, your body feels uncomfortable. That's because your brain has linked apologizing with emotional safety. And the final sign is that compliments make you uncomfortable. When someone praises you, your first instinct is to downplay it, explain it away, or somehow apologize for receiving positive attention. That's often a clue that self-worth and self-protection have become tangled together. Now here's something important. Don't try to solve this by forcing yourself to never apologize again. That's not the answer. Some people swing to the opposite extreme and become defensive or dismissive. Avoid that trap. And don't start criticizing yourself every time you say sorry. That just creates a new problem. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness. Instead, try this simple protocol. The next time you're about to apologize, pause and ask yourself one question. Did I actually do something wrong? Not could someone possibly be unhappy? Not am I worried about their reaction? Just one question. Did I actually do something wrong? If the answer is no, replace the apology with gratitude. Instead of saying sorry for being late, say thanks for waiting. Instead of saying sorry for asking so many questions, say thanks for helping me understand. That tiny shift changes the emotional message completely. Here's a pro tip that most people don't know. Keep a note on your phone for 1 week. Every time you catch yourself apologizing unnecessarily, write it down. Don't judge it, just track it. Most people are shocked by how often it happens. Awareness is where change begins. I want to hear from you right now. Drop your answer in the comments below. Have you ever experienced any of these signs? And what's the strangest thing you've ever apologized for? I read every single comment, and your story might help someone else feel understood. Remember Sarah from earlier? The woman who realized she was apologizing for existing? Her breakthrough wasn't becoming louder. It wasn't becoming aggressive. It was realizing she didn't need permission to take up space. And neither do you. If this made something click in your brain, hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. And subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next breakdown here on Psychology Decode. If you have been feeling like something is wrong with you, I want you to understand something right now. You are not broken. Your brain is doing exactly what brains evolved to do. The difference is now you understand it. And understanding changes everything. The backpack you've been carrying doesn't have to stay full forever. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next video, where we'll decode another hidden pattern shaping your mind.